Gbenga Sesan is a social entrepreneur and the executive director of Paradigm Initiative, a pan-African social enterprise working on digital inclusion and digital rights through its offices in several African countries, including Nigeria. Trained as an electronic and electrical engineer at the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, he has completed executive education programs at Lagos Business School, New York Group for Technology Transfer, Oxford University, Harvard University, Stanford University, Santa Clara University, and University of the Pacific. He is a non-resident fellow at the Digital Civil Society Lab at Stanford University and a former member of the United Nations Committee of E-Leaders on Youth and ICT. Named Schwab Foundation Social Entrepreneur of the Year 2014, Gbenga Sesan is a Cyber Stewards Fellow, Krantz Montana Forum Fellow, Archbishop Desmond Tutu Leadership Fellow, Ashoka Fellow, Common Future Fellow, and Codes Fellow. In 2012, he was listed by CNN as one of the 10 leading African tech voices on Twitter and by Ventures Africa as one of the 40 African legends under 40. In the course of his career, Mr. Sesan has had the opportunity to consult for numerous institutions, including Microsoft, Harvard University, and United Nations agencies, among others. In 2006, he served as a member of the Presidential Committees on Harmonization of Information Technology, Telecommunications, and Broadcasting sectors, and Roadmap for the Achievements of Accelerated Universal Broadband Infrastructure and Service Provision in 2013. He advised the World Health Organization on data privacy in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 and is currently advising the World Economic Forum on its operationalizing trust project to develop rights respecting data policy for business.
My name is Gbenga Sesan. I'm an executive director at Paradigm Initiative, and I am an African. So I was born in Akure on a Wednesday. I know that because I had to check to be sure of what day. Not because of horoscopes or anything, but just to be accurate, so that when I write my birthday, I'll write 8:02 p.m. Wednesday, 27th July 1977. Obviously I love details. I love details. I love record keeping. And I was born in Akure. To two parents. My parents, a teacher who is now retired, and a nurse who is now retired. And as you can already imagine, that meant that my father, who was a teacher, was very strict. In fact, I met some of his students while I was a much younger person, who would tell me, "Yeah, Mr. Sesan's child. Hey, he almost be tough," and things like that. So my dad was the kind of strict person. My mom, not as strict, but a lot of the things that she said. So my dad was the kind of person who would talk, and my mom was the kind of person who will smack and say that come here and go and bring a belt for me to beat you and things like that. But one thing that I know that clearly they both had in common. My siblings were all born in July, by the way. I July 27, same day with my sister, 7 years after me. My elder brother was born on July 24. My elder sister was born on July 4. And so there was a joke in the house that our parents, only usually make deliberate attempts at having a child in a particular month of the year, around August, September, which coincides with summer, by the way, so that we can be born in July, But, growing up, for me, it was in a strict home. Academics, that was number one. I remember when I came home with new ideas. "Oh, Daddy, I'm now born again. Oh, Daddy, I have this idea." They were secondary as far as I was concerned. The primary thing was, what position was it that you came back home with? The first position. If it's first position, you didn't get commended like that, but you will know that he was proud of it. And I remember very clearly that in primary school, during the prize giving day ceremony, and I remember this because it became a thing. It became an expectation from my parents, from my mom particularly. On prize given day, it will be mathematics, Gbenga Sesan, and I'll go for it. And you know the way it is. There's a huge hall, De La Salle Hall in St. Peter's Primary School in Akure. It was the secondary school that had the hall. You go there, Gbenga Sesan, you go to pick the prize. On your way back, social studies, Gbenga Sesan, and you go back, and people will just say, wait, collect all the prizes, and then you wait there, and then they'll call your name. And I remember in primary 6, that didn't happen. In primary 5, for arithmetic or mathematics, I don't remember what we called it then, because another person got the prize. And I could see, some surprise on my mom's face. And that went all the way to secondary school when during our just before our GS3 exams, they were, actually we had done our exams for GS2, and, there was prize giving day. And unfortunately, I didn't get one prize. And I could see my mom where she sat, where the parents were. She was expecting to hear Gbenga Sesan. They called mathematics, they called English, they called every subject. And when we were done, she didn't complain. She was, the kind of, I think she was wondering what was going on. Took me to a teacher who then said to her that, oh, we're very hopeful that Gbenga will make us proud with his GSC exams. And so I was always under pressure academically. Either because one aunt or one uncle was saying, brilliant Gbenga, because, maybe I should have known better and not collected all those prizes in primary school. Maybe I wouldn't have been under pressure, so that growing up for me was also it was quite regimented. Everything was planned. You woke up at a certain time. We grew up in Akure, which wasn't like Lagos where everything was rushed. But even at that, at 7 a.m., we were out of the house. At 7:15 or so, my mom was dropped off by my dad at the hospital. At 7:30, he was dropping off in school. At 7:45, he was in his own school. At 8, of course, school was starting. At, I think, 2:30, school finished. And then once in a while, and I remember one of those days when I thought my dad wasn't going to come back pick us on time, so I went to play football. And I just heard OD 1822A, that white passage. I heard the sound of the honking. And I just ran towards him as if I wasn't playing football, because I knew he was going to kill me. Because, it was that strict. Football was secondary. You're in school, you study. When you go home, and I was going to Junior TV Club, which was a club for kids, run by the Nigerian Television Authority at the time in Ondo State. Was it NTA or OSRC? I don't remember now. It was the Junior TV Club. But when you're in school, you study. And so that day, I ran towards the car, picked my bag on the way. And when I got into the car, of course, I was sweating because I was running around and playing football. By the way, there's some background to that. I had, tried to play football before, and my arm got broken. And so the instruction was, don't ever try it again. And I got into the car and I sat down. Hey, Daddy, welcome. And he didn't say a word. He turned the car around, and the next thing I noticed was his hand weight came all the way to the back, bam! And that was all the message. The message was clear. You're in school, you study. And I think that sort of laid a foundation for me in terms of two things. One was I was very, very serious academically, but the moment I left home and I went to be on my own, literally, in boarding school, in secondary school, then I almost went to the other extreme where, there was nobody to ask me during the day, if you studied. So I just kind of went off to the other extreme and became very playful, which was why I got no prize. And then, the challenge came in GS3 and I sat up, and that was very useful. So for me, the fact that one very interesting memory of childhood was our birthdays. All our birthdays were celebrated on the same day, because July 4, 24, 27, 27. Was always on the same day. I liked it because it was my own birthday. My brother and sister obviously didn't like it that much, because my brother had to wait for 3 days, my sister had to wait for 23 days for them to celebrate their birthday. But I think it was a very wise economic decision by my parents, who had 4 children. Who have 4 children. So it was, but childhood was fun. I, did everything. Rambo, jumping up and down, broke my leg, broke my arm. Things are different now. Now I have the power of hindsight, right? I've always known that one experience that I had that shaped my entire life until now was so we attended, it's called St. Luke's Anglican Church, Diagbatutu, Akure, Fune. And there was what was called at the time, I don't think it was called Sunday school because we were not that young. It was a pre-church activity, basically. So because we were teenagers, we were put aside and not to join the main church. Because, to be honest, the main church was boring. And so we always left church to go and play outside. So they kind of created a youth section for us. And on one of those, during one of those times, one woman came to talk to us, Mrs. Fesobi, and she talked about David. And she was talking about how this guy was different from everyone. And typically, we were quite young, we were not always listening, like, let this woman finish and let's go. But that day, the story of David caught my attention. And it was basically that David served God's purpose in his generation. I had no idea what it meant, but it sounded cool, it sounded different. And that led me to making a decision, and I started talking to my friends about how we must impact this generation. We must make a difference. And I didn't know what it meant. I just knew that it probably meant that somebody was more than just born on Monday, met his girlfriend on Tuesday, got married on Wednesday, gave birth to someone on Thursday, died on Friday, and was buried on Saturday. Because I always wanted more. And I thought that idea of giving back, of being able to live my life to the fullest was the way of doing that. And I think that my first exposure to living life beyond myself was also the fact that maybe two major triggers, apart from this one trigger with this, David Acts 1336 experience for me. It was that I joined the quiz. I was considered very smart, so I was always part of the quiz team for our school. And we were not considered, St. Peter's Demonstration Primary School in Akure wasn't considered the best school. It was considered a maximum B or C rated. There were the A-rated private schools, owned by the missionaries and things like that. There were like the B-rated schools that were much better. So maybe we were kind of BC. And we went for this quiz competition. And two things happened. My school won eventually. We won. But before we won, there was a moment where the quiz mistress gave us a question and I answered, and she said I was wrong. And I was like, I can't be wrong, I'm right. It was on national TV. This was broadcast on NTA, in Akure at the time. And I argued with her and I won. And I think that may have laid a strong foundation for the kind of confidence that I have today, because it was a big deal. This was supposed to be a teacher. This was supposed to be a big, female figure who was supposed to know all the answers. She had the questions and had the answers, but I argued with her, and they took a break. They consulted, and they were like, "Oh, he's right." And this was well, very popularly broadcasted then in those days. So it was a big deal for me. The third trigger for me was, like I mentioned earlier, I was part of the junior TV club, and every day, all kids of all races. I was from a pretty humble middle class, lower middle class home, but there were others from much lower classes than me, a lot from much higher classes, and we always met in this elite part of Ondo State of Akure, which is Ijaku. And so we had access to to club facilities and all that. These were things that I didn't have everyday access to. But for me, it sort of exposed me to what was possible and the fact that there was a lot more beyond what I had at the moment. And I guess my inquisitive nature was very helpful. I asked questions. So I got involved with not just a quiz, but also with debate. I quickly became a good debater. I hope I've convinced you and not confused you, kind of things. So for me, I think those were the triggers that laid the foundation for me. Before I was a local champion, literally. In primary school, I won almost all the prizes. But by the time I started getting closer to secondary school, I didn't realize that there was a lot more to it. I got into Federal Government College Iduani, and there were guys from Kaduna, from North, East, West, South. And so I think that was a major trigger for me also, that there was a lot more to life than my neighbor Shegun or my neighbor Shola or my neighbor Kemi. And that was my first exposure to, to characters and people who were definitely not, wouldn't fit into my stereotype of what the world was all about.
Okay, so now so I go area now. I meet people and they say, okay, Oga Doki, we get question for you. You say if you answer, I say when you are trying, I mean you ask me the question now. He said, Doki, now when it good, make person dey chop fruit. Now when it good, say now before the person shop, as person dey chop im main meal, or after person don chop im main meal, may come use fruit, step am down. Now which one be the better one? Okay, you want know too? I dey come, I go answer you now.
Paradigm Initiative started even before the name was Paradigm Initiative Nigeria at the time. It was in 2017 that we became Paradigm Initiative because we then had operations in Cameroon and Malawi. Now, we're Pan-African. We have offices in, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Cameroon, Senegal, and so we're focused on all of the regions on the continent, apart from North Africa. And Paradigm Initiative does two things. One is we make sure that we recreate the Gbenga Sesan story, which is basically get these young people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, these young people who are at a risk of not getting access to opportunities, take them through a 10-week intensive training program. And when they learn, their story changes. And we've seen that happen a lot. I think one of the most inspiring for me to date is the girl whose dad kicked her out of the house along with her mom and her sister because he wanted a boy. And said, just go, you this witch, you don't have boys for me. As if she was the one to determine what kind of sex the child will be. And then she came to her training, succeeded at getting a job after the training, and then the man wanted them back home. It's a shame. It's of blessed memory now. But one major thing that she told me when I was preparing for a speech somewhere and I wanted to mention her story, and I asked her to please tell me what happened, was that she said she became the breadwinner and that changed everything. And as far as he was concerned, he literally wanted them to come back and then, benefit from, all those things. And that tells me a lot. That breaks stereotypes. It empowers people and it gives them opportunities to also inspire others. Because the more people we train, the more they become successful. Famous, one of the students that we trained in 2007, called me sometime last year and they said he had become a manager at a top 4 consulting firm, a global consulting firm. I'm like, okay, what else can I ask for? This is not even just recreating myself. This is creating someone literally better than myself. That's one half of our work. The second half of our work is focused on policy. Yes, we train young people, but we want to make sure that the policy environment is right. I want to make sure that things like, government surveillance that is illegal, anything that should be done that is not being done as far as policy online is concerned, we make sure that we speak up about it. We run our advocacy programs. Now annually we produce a short film on the topic so that people can enjoy and watch and learn, at the same time. We do a lot of training programs. We do research, which is what, the research report is what we convert into a short film, by the way. And the reason why we do this as a Paradigm Initiative is because, look at Africa. Africa missed many opportunities before now. And now there are so many things. And I'm not talking of just blockchain alone. I'm not talking of AI. I'm not talking of all this, sexy sounding names in tech now. I'm saying that this nice sounding things are opportunities that countries and continents can take advantage of to level up. We missed out in the information, the machine era, missed out agricultural revolution, missed out even in information revolution. But right now, what has been described as the fourth industrial revolution is a huge opportunity for Africa because we now need to focus on innovation. In the last few weeks, in the last few months, we've heard stories of African unicorns. Companies started by young Nigerians that went on to become worth $1 billion. Companies sold for $200 million. Companies started by young people from Nigeria to Niger, from Algeria to Zimbabwe. And this only happens because these young men and women are dogged. Imagine what could happen if policy supported them. Imagine if there was wind behind, if there was a huge wind behind their wings, they would fly like nothing else. And that for me is my take on Africa and innovation. Unfortunately, we're the continent that shuts down the internet the most in terms of number of countries. I mean, India owns that record considering subnational and length of time. But why are we shutting down the internet? Why are we arresting people because of what they're saying online? We should be focusing, instead of creating climates of, a climate of fear, we should be creating a climate of innovation. We should be supporting the people that, in spite of government, are able to do the things they do so that a lot more people can do that. And we all need it. The government will get more revenue from taxes. The government will be under less pressure. All this one that we have to be giving 5,000 naira to people because they don't have jobs. If we create more SMEs, they will create more opportunities. One of the reasons why I'm excited about what I do is not just because of the impact we have in the lives of the kids that we work with or in terms of policy, but also because we've become that organization that employs, 28 people across 5 countries. Yes, it's not a large number, but guess what? When that, number increases, it is better for our work, it is better for our partners, it's also better for those individuals and the economies of the countries that they are in. I look at my tax bill every year and I'm like, I don't see much of the correlation in terms of governance, but you can imagine that if you empower more organizations and more corporations, instead of stifling them, instead of worrying about social media, we must shut down social media, we must shut down. Leave those ones. Focus on creating a climate of innovation and let people soar. Africa missed many opportunities before now. And now there are so many things. And I'm not talking of just blockchain alone. I'm not talking of AI. I'm not talking of all this, sexy sounding names in tech. I'm saying that these nice sounding things are opportunities that countries and continents can take advantage of to level up. We missed out in the information, the machine era, missed out agricultural revolution, missed out even in information revolution. But right now, what has been described as the fourth industrial revolution is a huge opportunity for Africa because we now need to focus on innovation. And it's interesting that those kind of challenges, they happen, and when they do, we have 2 reactions. And so it was a surprise for me when I got there and I saw Wole Soyinka was the one who handed me my plaque as Nigeria's IT ambassador and said very many nice things about me. Gbenga whips our flagging energies, rejuvenates us, and I was like, is it me that Wole Soyinka is talking about like this? So it was a big deal.